Wednesday's practice taught the defense for 2 days in a row at a very physical up-tempo. I think that, going back to Saturday, they weren't very pleased with the way that they finished in the second half, and so it's good to see that not just the coaches but the players take ownership in it, and so I think we're going to play really well on defense.
Speaking of the defense, a lot of the changes you made were geared toward the spread-style teams, getting faster and a little bit smaller.
Mm-hmm.
How do you adjust to facing a team that's not like that, that's going to be big and physical and try to pound you?
Well, first, I can't really get into very much on that, for obvious reasons about what we're doing this week. But I can say that I do think we were at a little advantage because, we go all camp and all spring have seen some similar type of plays. Different than what true spread teams have to deal with when their defense sees spread all camp. So, but I've always hoped that would help us. I don't know that it has over the last 2 years. Maybe it will this year.
I guess what I'm asking is, are you at any disadvantage because you have sort of smaller guys?
Well, I think it depends on who you play, where you play them, all those things. And so every week's different. But I think in general, as we've talked about before, we have moved this defense to more speed than size, yes.
How much do you like the fact that you guys have had a little bit of adversity, at least this past week, the first half, to teach the guys something that you could tell them all day long, but they won't learn unless they experience it?
Yeah, I think it's always valuable to go into late to games. I know we didn't leave our starters out there the entire game. But, sometimes it happens where you have a couple easy games where, your guys are way ahead at halftime, then all of a sudden you get in one and you're not used to having to play in a close game. So I think from that sense it was good to start the fourth quarter being a close game.
And you said you didn't think Stanford could change that much, but looking at who they've had to play, have they had to show much this, the first two games, or are they holding something back?
Well, I don't think they've showed very much stuff, but I also think that that's probably really their personality. They do what they do. They're not a big, huge change from week to week. They're going to play a lot of extra linemen. They're going to play tight ends. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to do play action. And on defense, they're going to be very multiple. And I think they're really well coached, one of the better coached teams in the country.
It seems like Robert and Marquise have really embraced the blocking this year. Is that a difficult sell job to guys like that, or to wide receivers in general, or how do you sort of get them to do that?
Yeah, I don't think that that's really coaching. I think that if guys, they've got to be special guys. If you're gonna have all these records that they do, some seems almost weekly they do something new. To also play that many snaps and block the way that they do takes a special competitor, regardless of how much you sell it as a coach. And they're a better duo than we've had before. We've usually been about one of the two guys has been a blocker, and one's kind of been more of sometimes not play as hard in the run game. And so to have two of them, I think, is really unusual.
Describe the way this team has changed with Luck not being there, and now pretty much a run team, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but then they came out last week and tried to throw the ball, I think, to balance that up after the first week of being so lopsided. So, like I said, I think they're going to do what they do. When Luck was there, they were still a running team first. And so I don't think they've changed all that much. Hopefully we can get them into the fourth quarter and make a new guy have to make plays.
Lane, there was a published report that Andre Haidari had surgery and was going to be out for a few weeks. Can you confirm that? Or?
No, I got no comment on that.
The reporter who reported that has been banned from practice and from a game coming up. What was the justification for that?
Well, our administration is going to address that with your editors later today. We felt that it was very clear what our expectation was. So they'll address that later today.
Wasn't the expectation in regard to practices and what is viewed in practice, what's reported in practice in terms of injuries and strategy, that report did not include any references to practice or anything?
Well, I think for those of you that were here that day, including yourself, you saw what question was asked directly about off-the-record stuff, and you saw my response, because once you start going with everything off the record, you're going to write whatever you want and just say it was off the record. And say, well, I didn't write it because I saw it. So it'll be addressed later today with the editors.
Double overtime revenge in this game. How does that come into play? The guys talk about that at all?
Not at all. Every year is new. Every team's new. They're a really good team, and those got nothing to do with anything. We got to play really well on the road versus a team, like I said, that's really well coached. They're hard to beat. That's why they've won a lot of games over the last couple of years.
Lane, it has only been 2 games, but just how impressed have you been with Morgan Breslin so far?
Very impressed. For him to come in first Division I college games and make as many plays as he has. And we've taken him out late in both games, or his numbers would even be better. It's been huge for us. Probably our biggest surprise on our team.
Can you talk about the relationship between Randall Telfer and Xavier Grimble, who, in a way, they're competing with each other, yet they seem to be really good friends and really supportive of each other?
Yeah, and it's a good position. Sometimes, you get a position where you can't play two guys, like a quarterback. So it's good that they both get to play a ton, and they both play on special teams too. Very unique relationship. They push each other. They're great kids. Randall was probably ahead at one point, and then Xavier really matured and rounded out his entire game. I think they're both first-day pick guys at some point, hopefully for us 3 years from now.
It's only a couple games, but you're looking across town at all and saying they're doing something over there too finally in Westwood.
Well,
top 25.
I don't know that I'd say finally. Obviously we got to a great start, some gigantic numbers. The first week I think a lot of people say, well, it was Rice, and then you go out and do it versus Nebraska. That's not easy. It's not easy to get your offense and defense playing that well that fast, and so a lot of credit, to those guys for doing that, and some unbelievable numbers.
Can you clarify what you mean by off the record? Sorry, I just want to make sure I understand.
It'll be addressed later today.
You guys are holding opponents to under 3 yards a carry. What do you need to see out of your front seven to have a performance like that against Stanford?
Well, we're going to have to stop the run first. We're going to have to play very aggressive in our fits, and we're going to have to really knock them back. Otherwise, the game gets really long, and now all of a sudden you got to get out of your normal defenses, and now you get the big play actions. So we've got to play really sound defense against these guys.
Last one.
Last year in the Stanford game, TJ McDonald was disciplined for a hit. Has that affected his play? Has he had to change it, and in what ways?
Well, I think he has. I think that in general, he tries to avoid that area. I still don't know. We'll never know how the penalty. We're discussing. I don't know how that could have been stopped. I think it's impossible. I think it's people slowing things down in slow motion, making decisions. And if you understand the game of football and how fast that was, there's no way. And you can take that and you can compare it to all the different hits that happen on quarterbacks, and there's no comparison.